2 hours and 45 minutes. That's how long the second Harry Potter movie is. I just got done watching it. And it is the longest book, it is the longest movie in the franchise, adapting the smallest book in the entire franchise. And it remains shocking, it remains very faithful to the source material, but honestly, some of this movie has not aged well. All right, let's get the pop. Okay, because this is a divisive entry in this series. Some praise the darker tone, some criticize the length. For me, I think that now we've got the world established. The Sorcerer's Stone is destroyed, and we've got a new position for the defense against the dark arts, the Dada, if you will. But of course, there's something going on at Hogwarts. What is this? Why is it that certain students are being petrified, which is that they're comatose, I guess would be a good way to describe it. Well, there's an heir of Slytherin that's returning. Salazar Slytherin, who lived over 1,000 years ago when this movie came out. So that would be 2002 in the movie's timeline. So yeah, like 1,004 years ago. And I feel, though, as if they want to try and top the other one. And they succeeded in certain points. We get some better acting and better actual character work. This is because we get to see more acting from Radcliffe, who is supposedly the heir of Slytherin, is unleashing a giant basilisk amongst the students. So we get to see his range of like confusion, wondering, fear, anger, and the other two of the Golden Trio bring out of especially Rupert Grint does a better job because we get to see him, be a little bit of a comic relief, but he does take center stage more, which I actually thought was a nice touch. Because spoilers, everyone knows Hermione gets petrified because she looks at a basilisk through a mirror. Now, a basilisk is a creature that what was it? That was a frog. Something was like a chicken. It was a frog that was born under a chicken's egg. This was done in the Harry Potter verse by Hercule the Foul. And he also invented the Horcrux, so he could still technically be living in the wizard world, so we get a lot more mythology. We get a lot more of this mystery. I like the mystery aspect of this because it's like we wonder what's going on. We get to go into the Forbidden Forest, for Dark Forest, whatever, yet again, and I'm like, all right, I see what's going on here. We're actually getting some suspense, and we're getting some more elaborate sets. Like the elaborate sets are great, like Dumbledore's office. There's the Forbidden Forest, and when they actually go down to the chamber for like the last 30 minutes, this stuff it feels like it's actually kind of more medievalish, because what they did was, because Chris Columbus and the crew, Craig, whatever his last name is, they used sepia lighting tones in order to give more like there's some more suspense going on. It's not as colorful as it was last time. I mean, even Nocturne Alley where they're at is still dark and full of unsavory characters. I mean, even in Borgin and Burkes alone, we're selling items on the black market would be described as poisons and the like, and it's just, yeah. I like the tone in this movie. But however, they had too many long scenes of just Quidditch match. Then they have yet another Quidditch match. And it just felt kind of useless. I don't know. It just felt like some of these scenes could have just been stretched out. Like when they were in the, like when they were getting on board, like when they're flying in the Fort Angela. That felt like it went on for a little while. And just, when they were talking, like, were you going to be expelled or not? No, but it just went on and on. It's like, and then the first scene in Dumbledore's office with Fawkes and everything. It's nice to look at, but it just drags. And unfortunately, some of this dialogue, which it is trying to really amp up get the mystery going, and is just I didn't like it. I would say probably the first hour. I mean, though it is imaginative and fun, it feels like it could have been trimmed. The Weasley house could have been trimmed. I don't know. It just felt like I haven't read the book in a long time, so I'm going based off of memory and trying to recite what I felt like with this movie. But there are moments of bore. I guess there are moments of boredom because so much happens. However, I will say that when they finally get in like the last 45 minutes, it does accelerate, especially with the fight going on with the basilisk and bringing out the sword of Gryffindor. I mean, that alone is like that makes up for everything that's going on. But it's still because right when we get meeting with Aragog, who when they enter the Dark Forest and everything starts compounding, that's when it feels like that this movie comes alive. And maybe if they just reduced some of the stuff in the beginning, the music is still good. John Williams does not partake in this score because I'm guessing, I think he was doing Star Wars or something like that. And this is still fine. We get the wintry music. We get some of the slow musical stings. It all still stands out and make it very grandiose and majestic, which I like. And it's like this is meant to be a darker film, and I, to a point, can see that. But yeah, I mean, like everyone still does a great job acting. I am not complaining at all about the acting. I mean, David Bradley as Argus Filch you just don't like the guy, but he's knows what's a squib, can't produce any magic. You got McGonagall, who's still showing off her serious side, and she eventually does lighten up, but here it's like they're still trying to just keep the I guess they're still trying to keep the fairy tale aspect still intact, but I don't know. I just think it was trying to balance the mystery and the fantasy, and it just didn't work well. I mean, it's like seeing the snake and everything going on with the when they're mixing the polyjuice potion. I just felt like that scene just went on, and it just, I don't know. Just like that whole scene alone just didn't work. I mean, it did work, but at the same time, again, trimming down a couple of minutes here and there would have helped with the flow. And you probably could have made this movie with the deleted scenes as 2 hours 45 minutes to like maybe 2 hours 20 minutes, which seems to be the perfect length for that, because that's just what I felt. It's like we get more introduction, but conceptually we get more introductions into the wizarding world of the diary being a Horcrux. So we get Godric Gryffindor's sword. We find out more lore about what happened way in the past, which I always think is a very nice touch. So, but it's like this movie is conceptually great, and there's nothing wrong with the production or anything like that, but it's just the length in some scenes that could have been cut, and maybe taken, and the blending of the mystery and the fantasy aspect didn't mix well, which kind of does drag it down. And just, yeah. But I guess one other thing I do want to praise is Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy. Ooh, you just hate Lucius, because it's like he just proclaims blood superiority, which one could see as like the rich versus the poor. That's kind of technically having to deal with racism, if I'm not mistaken, just done in a subtle way when you look at it. So thematically, I also have to give it credit that, but like I said, ultimately this does save it to a point, but it still does not take it's like, Jason Isaacs does a good job. I was curious about the actor. He was in he was in The Patriot, Black Hawk Down, Event Horizon. He did some voice work for Scooby Doo and some DC animated movies. So yeah, but ultimately I say still watch this one, but just remember it just some parts drag, and honestly I think it's one, in my opinion, for as of right now, one of the weaker movies in my opinion. So there are my thoughts on the Chamber of Secrets.